79T 2458 Learning Corp Little Red Riding Hood, take one.
Trying something new for the introduction this time. I think it'll work. If it doesn't work, you never know. Either way. Let's fade that to me. I guess there's no fade, I just gotta go balls in. Good enough. What's going on, fellas? Welcome. Red morning. Dog days of summer have hit us. Hope you're enjoying yourselves. Let's kill that thing here. It's a weird topic today. So, I guess a little introduction, because what the hey, why aren't we doing introductions, right? I don't watch my own videos. By the time I'm done editing them, I just hate looking at them anymore. With a few exceptions. The original pre-TikTok Red Pill Coffees, where I had that chick that put that dude on blast for giving her the email. The crazy chick ranting about how her boyfriend told her to get rid of her OnlyFans, so she dumped him. And the Canadian Trucker Convoy. I still get a little welled up when I watch that stuff, so. While I know the Chick Talks are where the bread is buttered, and you guys are big fans of the Mids Watch, I always got my little favorites on there. So I was just watching that one this morning. No, nothing's cut. Actually, I did get a trim. But it's not cut off. It's just because it's wet right now. And the way it was trimmed was to cut back a lot of the girth. So it should hang much better now. Anyway. It's a mane, not a mullet, sir. You know what? Is it so hard to ask for something to be correct? Sean Bipley, sir, thank you very much. $100 super chat. I really wish, whoever you are, you would say something. Because, I'd love to give you a shout out. Like I said, it's a very generous donation to the channel. At the very least, just something to work with. Are you getting Pearl on the show to talk about JAL's boot camp? No, I'm not. No. I mean, so I've become aware of who this Pearly Things is. So I get it. She's kind of like a, what the hell's the alley. But, yeah, we'll see. I don't know. Like I said, once the editing's done, I think it's end of the month, or in October anyway. We're going to start doing guests again. I got a whole bunch of people lined up. A couple favorites you want to talk to, a couple guys you haven't talked to. It'll be good. But until then, we're doing this one here. But yeah, the JAL boot camp. To be fair, I mean, that's a pretty standard. Okay, so if you don't know about the pickup scene, everything rips off mystery. Everything. And so when you watch the JAL, anybody's boot camp, it's essentially a mystery boot camp retooled with other people's stuff. That's where, the hell's his name? RSD Tyler, I think it was, had his. It was no different than a mystery one, but it was more like talking about your feelings, kind of like The Secret and shit. It's Ross Jeffries rip-off mystery. Well, I don't think rip-off is the right word. So Mystery was one of the first guys to do it. I think Ross Jeffries is part of that initial layer they had too. It's kind of like saying, did everybody rip off Jesus when they wrote the Bible? He was the front runner. He was the foremost guy who started it, and everybody kind of built off of that. I think that's the most accurate way to put it. You're not wrong, Billy. The channel is succeeding, but are the viewers? Yeah. Yeah, Owen Cook, that guy. But, I'm not the best with this stuff. Because, I did pick up. But I was never part of a layer. I never was into the scene. I never worshipped all the personalities and that. For me, it was literally a tool. Like I said, I've told the story in my book. I've told it 100 times. I was sailing a lot. A sailing schedule of 180 days basically means for 180 days you're gone. You're working 16-hour days, no days off. You'll get maybe 3 days off in a month of sailing to go party it up. Now, it's foreign ports. You're not meeting anybody other than, if you're lucky, a girl who's got her own place, because you can't take her back to the ship. They won't let her on board. And so when I was at home, it was either I learned how to make this process much more efficient, or I'm going to be stuck picking up a girl from the Carlton Club. And if you guys don't know, the Carlton Club is the closest base, or the closest bar to the base in the Esquimalt base, CFB Esquimalt, which is the Victoria, BC one. And yeah, you either find road trash, trailer trash, or the girls that are there's like, I'm looking for a husband with a paycheck who's gone half the year. So for me, it basically saved my life. But at the same time, I'm like, I didn't have time. I was busy working. I'm not going to a boot camp. I never watched the VH1 special or anything. I used to love Keys to the VIP, though. In fact, I hope you can still find it. If you guys ever get a chance to do this, by the way, like if you start going out and practicing game and doing approaches and that, go look up a series called Keys to the VIP. It was a Canadian pickup artist TV show, set up like a game show. There was like the jock archetype. There was the artist. There was the musician. There was the nice guy. It was like all these things. And then these guys would be like a panel of 5. And they would get a few people from the Ontario area, like Mississauga or whatever, who said how great their game was. And they would put them into a bar and they would give them like challenges. Like, you got to pick up a chick by talking about her feet for 5 minutes or something like that. It was pretty entertaining, pretty fun. It is on YouTube. Oh, that's awesome. It'll be nice to have a Rule Zero without Ryan's nose in it for once. Dude, I haven't been there for like the last 4. The book has taken priority over just about everything in my life, and this is going to be the last one I won't be able to make it to, so next week. Yeah, God, the show would have caused such an uproar in 2022. It makes you think, too, like it's the same people. The only thing that's changed is media spin. And so this is where I start to realize, like, marketing works. But, let's get to the super chat and let's get started on the show. So Brett the Bachelor, $20 US super chat. Thank you very much, sir. Dude, your tip on separating intimacy from sex is really working well for me. My girl initiates a lot more. Oh, yeah, dude. I will say it's not a tip, though. It's something that I've kind of come to understand as we've gone through the book, is that when we talk about the praxis, the red pill praxis, the praxeology, or the system of application as opposed to the system of theory, philosophy, ideology, those are alternatives, right? It's all about mental models. It's a way of conceptualizing the world in a narrative format that allows you to make better decisions, and that's really the system that makes everything else work. So every time you see, like, oh, Rollo has an essay on that, that's a mental model. Children with Dynamite, that's a mental model. That allows you to understand the concept of guys who take red pill goals or red pill tools and use them for blue pill goals, and then they end up ruining their lives over it. So when you think Children with Dynamite, that's a narrative structure. So when you want to make a decision like, oh, I've been acting red pilled now and my girl likes it, so maybe I should reward her by starting to act like my old self, the way I used to be. And then you realize, okay, no, that's Children with Dynamite. You make a better decision. That's kind of how everything works. I found the audiobook of Mystery on YouTube. It's somewhat cringe. Oh, somewhat cringe? Oh, dude, it's cringe. Like, for me, it actually wasn't the Mystery DVDs. It was the Neil Strauss DVDs. He had Mystery on as a guest, but it was mostly Neil Strauss running the thing. He was sitting in, like, this 1970s leisure pad. Like, it had the, you know, in the 70s, how they had that part of the floor that was inset down? And then you'd put the couch for fooling around on it? Like, he was in there. He had his old look. The old, like, 1997 to 2002 look of, like, a dress shirt and then a t-shirt over top of it. And I was like, oh, man, this stuff, it was a product of its time, man. A product of its time. But that's one of those good things, too. And this is going to be why, like, why does the red pill have to be so, like, misogynist and all this stuff? It kind of has to be. Wine More Please talked about it in his Why Men Don't Have Frame article, but, oh, one sec. A big thing is the ability to separate tone from content. This is something in the military we learned. That's why they yell at you at boot camp. Basic training, they're just screaming at you. They're sleep depriving you because they need you to separate volume from content. I need to be able to yell at you, and you need to be able to, instead of just thinking, who is this asshole to talk to me like this? You need to be able to conceptualize, okay, he needs something done. There's a level of urgency involved, and then that's as far as you take it. And there's a weird thing, and I want to say I'm going to lump it in with men raised as defective women, where as soon as the tone is adversarial, as soon as the volume is extended, as soon as it doesn't assume that you're a perfect special snowflake, guys just tune out. There's a quote by The Last Psychiatrist, so I love on that. He goes, he was talking about hipsters on food stamps, which is probably his best article. If you guys ever read his series, Hipsters on Food Stamps, I'd suggest you give it a try. Anyways, he makes a reference to the Glengarry Glen Ross. Remember the speech at the beginning? The ABC, always be closing, coffees for closers. And he goes, everybody realizes it's like a work. He's not actually mad because of how he starts the thing. And then most people would, like good men would take that lesson and feed off the energy anyway. They realize it's a piece of work. They realize it's a mental model, but they're like, yeah, let's do this. Yeah, this kicks ass. But the unhealthy narcissist, on the other hand, looks at it and starts to see, who is he to talk to me like that? You can't do that. And he goes, it's like the standard trope of when a narcissist comes up against a higher power. Quietly seethe and look for some type of hypocrisy to feel better about yourself. So gratifying. Yeah. And so it's good. Men with no frame and things they do. And that's one of those things. If you come at them aggressive or angry, but there's content behind it. Now, I'm not saying the guy's supposed to like you afterwards, but it's a good way to check to see if the guy is able to separate his ego from his content. And most guys aren't. Most guys absolutely fail. Absolutely. Are you going a little meta with the tile today? A little. Well, sort of. Not really, but sort of. Anyways, this ties into it. Where is it? Yeah, reality isn't real. And so you realize reality's not real. That's a good example right there. Men with no frame, things they do. If I'm on Twitter and I'm calling somebody out as a dipshit and I have like a reason why or like a critique, I'll basically surround it by a lot of vitriol. Because then you want to see, does the guy just start focusing on the vitriol or does he see the point? And most guys don't see the point. And then you realize, okay, so you got the finely curated brand and you're not actually talking to a human being. Yeah, I knew it wasn't part of the original stage play. I didn't know they added it to it now, which is kind of funny. Are you the one that said all authors should narrate their own? I didn't say they should. I said I prefer it. But yeah, I like hearing it in the author's voice. And yes, I'm aware that Sam is the exception because, it's nice how Rollo has kind of basically saved his life with his audiobook. Literally saved his life. There it is. So we're going to do some things here today about reality isn't real. And that's kind of like the entrance point to it. So at this point, we're talking about separating tone from content. You realize people sometimes are yelling at you, not because they don't like you, not because they think you're trash, but because they're testing you. So it's not real. The anger is not real. Like when you see, for example, when you see shit like this.
Not Ryan Stone. He's the most important guy in the world, Ryan Stone. Give a about Ryan Stone. Me and him have gone back and forth, blah, blah, blah. Ryan Stone does not pass the 6-foot test. He's not even a man. So I don't give a Ryan Stone.
So a lot of guys, and ask me how I know guys saw this like this. Oh my God, he's ripping into Ryan. He hates that guy. What a prick. I looked at the same way I saw Sam Hyde talking about, you guys don't know he has a personality now. Just threatened, what the hell's the guy's name? Hassan Piker or whatever, at a boxing match. He's going to wear his skin as a suit. He's going to steal his dresses and wear his makeup. It's like it's a promo. And where a lot of guys were like, oh my God, he called you short and you're still holding a grudge. I'm like, what are you talking about? I made it an advertisement. I love that shit. I love that shit. But that's kind of the point I'm trying to get to here. You're going to have a lot of fiction. Somebody is going to take a big shit all over your heart because they want to look better in front of their friends, or they're testing you to see if you're able to separate tone from content. Or in that case, it's just bravado to make himself look good and appeal to teenagers. Like, whatever. Sometimes it's just entertainment. It's spectacle for the crowd. Oh, he's the most important person in the world. So that's the point. It's not real. Nothing's real. Reality isn't real. But then you got to look past it, because a bunch of guys have this problem where they may be good at pointing this stuff out, but they don't know how to react to it. And this is where I would add, this is how you react to it. So if you were a gamma male, if you guys know the term, gamma male is kind of like NPD, antisocial personality disorder, mixed in with narcissism. You'll get those things where like, he can't talk to me that way, and then you look for things to take a dunk on him for. Oh, he's bald and whatever, and I kind of did a little bit of that, and it was fun. Same theatrics, right? But then, like, the really good answer is to take that and to make it an advertisement for your channel. bam, most important guy in the world. That's where subtext comes in. When reality is not real, subtext is all that matters. So in this case, I'm sending a signal that A, not offended by it. B, I know it's a work because I created a derivative work from it. And C, well, he said I was important, so I'll take the literal interpretation on purpose. I know that's not what he meant. He meant it sarcastically, but you take that realistically. And then it shows. It doesn't say, like, I'm better than you or status and that shit. It shows it. And it's always show, never tell. Practical example. You're in a relationship, a girl's calling you a bitch or getting mad at you for whatever reason. And yeah, it's just like, if you can't laugh it off, somebody getting in your face and yelling at you like that, especially a wee little girl, then you don't have frame. And you're taking her stuff seriously. And you're taking it literally. And you're treating it as if it's real. And it's not real. A lot of the times when a girl's taking a dunk on you in public, it's because her feelings were hurt. And so now she wants you to have you hurt so your feelings match her feelings. It's one of those things. Oh, I'm definitely adding the blurb on the new book. Don't worry about that. So yeah, reality's not real. I mean, we can get to the obvious stuff too. I guess, you know what? Let's do a timestamp. We'll do the obvious stuff. I kind of have a half of a plan today. I was going to talk for a bit about this, and then we were going to go over the newsletter, because I like it. Oops, 16 minutes. Reality not real. So we got those examples. You got the theatrics of online content creators starting some drama to pique interest. You've got examples of girls, when they have feelings, they project them onto you. None of it is real. Exactly, Billy. Hurt people hurt people. And so when you try to negotiate with somebody who's doing this emotional thing, you're not going to get anywhere because they don't want to have a conversation. It's not about sharing information. It's about expressing feelings, for jockeying for status, and expressing the harmony. Real Fam Sapien, $9.99 super chat, sir, for that convoy video. Thank you very much, madam. I'm glad you liked it. Like I said, I really do. I get a little teared up in that first third. Once the heroic music starts kicking in, welling up, and then you start seeing the trucks rolling in, I was just like, God damn it. Love this country. Ryan got the girls. Where's that going? Oh, yeah, reality's not real. So you got this stuff. I mean, you got the obvious stuff. The politics, not real. That actually, the trucker convoy is a great example of that. I actually found, and it's one of those things, if you're not paying attention, all right, somebody says something, somebody else says something, you draw a line in the middle, you're like, it's, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It's actually not true. Usually you have one side that's speaking in earnest and the other side that's flat out lying, hoping that they drive that window from truth over to narrative. So I always found it kind of funny. Never too late to pivot. Oh, a pivot might happen, sir. Pivot might happen. Twitter banned me for far-right extremism, finding Mega Man 2 better than Mega Man 3. Well, I mean, to be fair, that's how Trump got into office, and that's how January 6th started. Was the Mega Man 2 stuff, so. Yeah, politicians perform theater, the bureaucracy runs. So it kind of is, it's a great example of subtext. The reality is not real, that's the subtext. It turns out the subtext becomes more important when the surface of the communication, the signal, the reality, ceases to become important. So right now the world is kind of run by subtext. That's where you can get somebody come up and lie in front of like a press conference. I'm sure, I don't really watch them, but I know that, what's the Biden chick? She's got a new chick that does the press secretary. She's got the curly hair. And she always looks like a dope, or I think that's how they describe her anyway. I actually keep the sound off. I just see her moving. And it looks like a person that's like staring as a deer in front of the headlights. Like, why am I here? I hope the paycheck is worth it. So the subtext of those are always fun. Like, it's not real. They're talking about, oh, Trump caused inflation or whatever they complain about. Whatever was the new one. He was doing like his empire speech from behind the podium. Karine Jean-Pierre. Yeah. Wow, that's a very... She must be from... she must be Acadian. Salubai. From the Orleans. Jean-Pierre. Or maybe she's Haitian. So the subtext of those and the reality not real part is amazing. It's basically saying, we are doing what we want. You can't stop us. I'm going to flat out lie to you. You know I'm lying to you. I know I'm lying to you. And there's nothing you can say about it, because if you call it out, I'll kick you out of the press conference, and you need this job more than I need to put up with your shit. You know what I mean? It's like pretty impressive. And nobody catches on to it, because that's always the answer. Again, the unhealthy narcissist just seethes quietly and looks to point out hypocrisy. And that's all you see. That's political theater. That's, oh my God, Biden said this, and he's such a hypocrite because 6 months ago he said that. And it's like, stop spouting the rules and play the game. Yes, everybody is a hypocrite. Everybody is a hypocrite. In fact, that hypocrisy sends a strong signal. I care about my best interests. I will say what I have to say to get there, whether it's true or not. And if it's true tomorrow, then I'll say it tomorrow. And if it's true today, I'll say it today. But that's not required. And so now that you know these things, instead of just sitting there pointing out hypocrisy like you expect there to be some change, it's like, oh, my bad. I didn't know I was supposed to be 100% honest and truthful all the time. You can actually get to focus on dealing with the things that matter. Now, I'm not going to delve into politics because I'm not here to solve problems. I'm over it. I'm over it. I like pointing it out on the issues that I'm passionate about, but any expectation I have of crushing it is probably dead and done by now. Let me enjoy my throwing rocks from the sidelines. It's kind of like the Hitchens, not Christopher, Peter. That's his new thing. Actually, I love his stuff. I don't really know much about the UK, and I always liked Christopher better. But watching his like takedowns of things that I don't really care about, it's like teaching private schools in the UK, and he goes, "Here's the problems. Here's everybody that's done a horrible disservice. Here's why it's wrong, and here's what we lost." And you go, like, "You don't even have solutions." He goes, "I don't think there is a solution. I think we're we're screwed. But I'm gonna throw rocks because that's my job." And I'm like, good for him. Good for him. So yeah, stop spouting the rules. Just play the game. If you understand that they're talking in terms of like straight up power, well then yeah, you got to address it in terms of straight up power. And if you can't fight the fight, like you can't go up against the federal government. The federal government has too many resources, media in their pocket, all that stuff. So you just scale it back. Scale back your conflict to a point where you can deal with it. In my case, yeah, it's like literally getting off the grid. Like it's supposed to be MGTOW, you dipshit. Go your own way. You can't go any way but your own way. It's just not my fault your way involves celibacy. Celibacy and weed and Xbox. What did you want from me? So it's not real. You scale it back. In your case, okay, so I'll start working for myself. I'll start building my own empire. I'll start writing my own books, and it's great. And now all of like corporate stuff, I don't have to deal with that. All of the scheduling bullshit, the having to get up like at 6:30 in the morning to make sure I'm shaved, showered, shit, out the door by 7, because if I don't get into work by 7:30, they're calling my house. If I don't get to work at 7:50, they're sending the MPs or my boss to come pick me up, and then I have to deal with the whole court-martial or summary trial, and I'm like, yeah, I don't deal with any of that shit anymore. And I wish I could just say, you can do it too, but I think most of you can't. Like, some people need the structure of a job, and that's fine. I'm not going to belabor it. It's nice. Knowing what the rules are is a helpful thing. Other people maybe just not capable of doing it on their own. I get it. We're just, ranting about women online here, but there is a skill set to it, and there is a set of capabilities that you need to have a certain threshold to make it anywhere on. So, like, I get all that stuff. Yeah, you just described my relief quitting the Intel community. Oh, dude. You're one of those squirrels. Secret squirrels in the chat, boys. Don't trust him as a Fed. Yeah. I used to work with the squirrels all the time. It was funny. You guys, it sucks, though, because when you're in the high security stuff, you really have that gigantic separation between work and play, and the seriousness of it is always like a Damocles sword hanging over your head. Curate your social media feeds regularly. Spurs come out of nowhere. Oh, they absolutely do. That's one thing I envy with you guys, like as content, I guess, consumers, is that you don't have to give a shit about what John Anthony Lifestyle is doing, or, what's the new one? Leo got another girlfriend, another young one. But, like, I don't have to, like, oh my God, and follow it like a religious zealot, but I have to be aware. Okay, and I think that's why, isn't that the Rule Zero topic today? Rolo's going to be talking about Leo again. What's old is new again, man, I swear. I thought for sure 5 years ago we were having this same argument about Leo DiCaprio ditching his 26-year-old girlfriend to get a 20-year-old or something like that. And everything is the same and nothing has changed. Does the Canadian Navy allow thumb drives? The American one doesn't. It depends. We have a bunch of different networks. There was I could be outdated this time. There was DWAN, Defense Wide Area Network. And then there was a whole bunch of different security ones. There was... I can't remember the name of it anymore. I just remember it was the electric socket was red because it had to run to its own power supply because somebody had done a test where you could actually get memory information by tapping into the power supply of a computer. So it has to run through its own clean power. That stuff you weren't allowed to have thumb drives for. No thumb drives. The DWAN, the unclassified stuff, you were allowed thumb drives, but they had to be approved thumb drives, and they were accounted for. They were part of ship's inventory. You know, most of the time you would have like people's personal evaluation stuff in there, and you'd leave it in the locker. You know, that kind of stuff. But yeah, if you just walked in with a thumb drive and plugged it into your computer, you were going to jail, dude. And here we are playing Minecraft. Indeed, indeed. Anyways, enough of that. We'll go back to reality isn't real here. Yeah, so reality is not real. And then you realize since it's not real, subtext is what rules. And this is why I think I cannot prove it. I don't have a study. I don't have an authority to confirm it. I don't have research behind this. This is me making an educated guess. But I am guessing that rise of overly literal autism in the male population, the inability of men to use subtext in conversation to the same extent that women do, you know, their internal evolutionary need for manipulation as opposed to physicality. I have a feeling that those elements there, in the land of abundance, nobody has to worry about eating or starving. You know, bears don't come and kill you anymore, so everything is easy. And all the labor is handled by machines. I think because of all this, that's the core reason why men are getting left behind. It's that they haven't developed those skills and those subtext. I know Rollo says for autism, the rise of autism, he thinks it's because of the age of mothers is going up. So like when first moms were 23, it would have been low. But as they turn 27, 28, 30, 32, 35, that it increases the prevalence of autism in a population. There was also a thing where mothers who were on SSRIs prior to getting pregnant, kind of like back in the day when they had to tell moms stop drinking because you're making your kids into fetal alcohol syndrome babies, which is a tragic thing, by the way, if you've ever seen it. Supposedly the SSRIs are a factor in that too. I know for a fact it's going to be like an increase in the window of diagnosis has also contributed to it. Now everything is autism. And here's the problem. When I say reality isn't real, that rabbit hole goes deep, dude. So back when I was still serving, I remember I used to read all like the military journals, especially with stuff with Iraq and Afghanistan. I had friends down there. I almost volunteered for it once, but luckily I thought better of it. I'm like, I'll just go to Somalia instead. Let's go where it's safe. The UK had a study on PTSD. Everything was about PTSD. Oh my God, they're coming back from Afghanistan and they're burnt out, they're shell-shocked. And what they found was absolutely amazing, and I've yet to re-find it. I remember it very clearly, but I can't find the damn thing. The studies they were doing was on what is it that causes soldiers to come back with PTSD? Because some did, and some didn't. And there was a couple findings, like one, the prevalence of sociopathy in the population correlated with the prevalence of, not sociopathy, psychopathy. So yeah, that makes sense. But the other part, and this is the interesting thing, is that they found that the social services that they provided for members coming back actually increased the prevalence of PTSD. What the hell is he talking about? Here's what I'm talking about. You go out to Afghanistan for a 6-month tour, 7-month tour, 12-month tour. When you come back, they are worried. The 100 guys coming back, oh my God, these guys are going to have PTSD. Let's run them through a program. You know, find out the ones that are possible problems so we cover our ass so we don't let anybody fall through the cracks, and then we can get back to life. Of those 100 people, let's say one came back with PTSD. I don't know what the real numbers are, so I'm just using this as an illustrative example, not descriptive. Now, though, since they come back and everybody's like, okay, you might have PTSD. Here's some things you have to look for. There's always like very vague signals. Like if I put up narcissism right now, you're going to see elements of yourself. Grandiose self-importance. You're like, oh, everybody thinks they're self-important. Oh, I'm the greatest guy on earth. Are you a narcissist? Probably not. So now, because everybody is told you might have PTSD, more people start to believe they have PTSD. And more people start to show the symptoms, like kind of Munchausen syndrome stuff. And as more people start to get the symptoms rise, the social services increase, the amount of people that get it increase. It's a weird feedback loop where we actually create our own self-fulfilling prophecy. If you don't believe me, it's not the only example. There's been a replication of this one. TikTok. There was a time on TikTok where, it wasn't garbage. A couple years back, and there was people who had Tourette's talking about Tourette's on TikTok. There was some Tourette's people that just blew up, and it turns out they were finding that like 14-year-old girls started to like have like a splurge of Tourette's, and they're like, why all of a sudden are a bunch of 14-year-old girls getting Tourette's? It turns out, monkey see, monkey do. They were online. They saw somebody very popular with Tourette's. And so they started to have Tourette's because they thought it'd be popular too. This is all subconscious. It's not like a plan and writing it down or anything. It's just how it manifests. And it turns out that telling people what they are is a good way for the kind of person who doesn't have frame to become that. Manosphere has its own versions of that. Turns out female sexuality is very, very fluid. Great conversation I cannot find, but I do remember back when they still let me into Purple Pill debate. There was a couple girls there that loved, like, they were pretty red pilled. I'd say they were switched on. Darla, I talk about her all the time. Noticed that a lot of her friends in New York that after their divorces became lesbians. She's like, that's weird. Would be for like a year or two, and then they'd settle down with a new man. Now let me ask you this, guys in the chat. Anybody here who's had a really bad breakup, an acrimonious divorce, a girl that broke your heart, your BPD experience, after that breakup, after all the pain and all the suffering, after she killed your dog, she took your money, she left with the kids to a foreign country, she made you into an asshole, she got you fired from your job, after all of that, have you ever even considered, man, I think I'd rather suck dick? Ever? Let me know in the chat. So far, I'll wait. Okay, so we got no's. So here, I tell you what. If there's a yes, we'll come back to this one. I'll admit I was wrong. So we can kind of sort of intuit. The guys, like, our sexuality is pretty solid, but again, there was lots of girls doing it. Turns out there's a little more fluid. So but that makes sense because like hunters and gatherers, right? Guys, individualistic, mission focused. You get together with guys for common purpose, not because of commonality. Girls are more of a commune, safety in the herd, social standing, that sort of thing. So if you surround a girl with lesbians, there's a higher chance that she's going to become a lesbian. If you surround, and here's actually a fun thing too, replication again. Reality's not real, man. You put a divorced chick in a neighborhood, that is the number one indicator of women in that area, in that social circle, getting divorced. Girls getting married. Best indication of girls getting married, all of her friends are getting married. Best indication of a girl having her kid, all of her friends had a kid. Best indication of a girl having divorce, friends and family, neighbors getting divorced. It spreads like a virus. And it almost kind of makes sense now how like the traditional conservative, like Christian conservative, are very big on like enforcing those unrealistic social norms. I think it's there. I think it's been like a historical way we've been able to stave off that feedback loop of female communality. I could be wrong. It doesn't really matter. It's kind of like mental masturbation at this point because you can't create that. You can't bring it back. The feedback loop was so far in the other direction, you're just going to have to go with it, you know? So it's kind of funny. Rucho's my favorite so far. Never. I actually went out and just got a girl half her age. So it appears that we're age fluid. I'm perfectly happy to sleep with this 50-year-old. And then we got divorced and you're like, you know what? I think a 25-year-old is more my thing. 25 years later, all right, she's 50. I'm going to call it the slow roll of Leo DiCaprio. Having said that, I don't trust Mish, because I just found there was like halal testicles out there and available. And then he's showing me there's testicle cooking videos in the Middle East, so. My wife started working with a bunch of divorced women, and I swear that was the biggest factor. Yeah, you see? Now here's the thing. That's how Red Pill kind of gets its thing. Guys observe something. And you probably get it wrong because you don't know all the facts. You don't know all those, well, you don't know both sides and all this shit. Yeah, that's fine. But Daniel Bell sees it. Me sees it. Mr. Burns sees it. Jack sees it. Muhammad sees it. Vane sees it. Alex sees it. I see it. All of a sudden, you have what's called convergent evidence. The concept behind that is actually another key mental model to the Red Pill. The idea that one of us can have a very skewed, biased version of things. But if you have enough of us making generally the same observations, like we're all trending towards the same thing, then that gives that thing more credence. And once you get a critical mass of guys who make these kind of observations, you'll eventually be able to wrap a theory around it. Once it kind of converges close enough that somebody's able to wrap a thing around it. And that's the beauty of these. When you put enough guys in a room together, our collective thoughts create convergent evidence. Edward Petrasovitz, thank you, sir. $4.99. Oh, thank you. $4.99 super chat, because I did not want to talk about the cuck article. I consider myself pretty switched on, but your episode on covert contracts was very insightful. You notice them more once you cut them out. Thanks, man. Oh, dude, no problem. Like I said, it's probably the primary, like the first, the longest, and the most difficult aspect of red pilling yourself is removing covert contracts from your life. There's first order, there's second order, there's third order covert contracts. The shedding of covert contracts becomes a covert contract. They're absolutely ridiculously difficult. Yeah. It's a famous food here, man. Oh, I bet you guys love eating balls. I bet you love balls in your mouth. Mish. Balls in your mouth are great. All right. So where was the point of all this? Oh, yeah, so reality's not real. It turns out one of the better indicators that you're going to get PTSD is everybody assuming you have PTSD. One of the biggest indicators you're going to get divorced is your girl's friends getting divorced. One of the biggest indicators this girl's, LBGBT is whether her friends are LGBT. You see that now. Everybody's mad at the Alphabet Mafia. And oh my God, kids are becoming more LGBT than they were before. They're literally turning the frogs gay. It's no different than Wiggers in the 2000s. Remember that? Guys who were like wearing backwards baseball caps and talking like black folk? Talking like the urbans? It was the cool thing to do, and it pissed off your dad. That's why people are doing it. Do you think the LGBT group are actually LGBT? A lot of them aren't. They just want to be part of the cool kids club. Hell, I remember in Canada, great example, NDP, National Democratic Party, our socialist party, they made a policy where we need to encourage more LGBT. Now, I don't know how minority fit in there because there's no M, but minorities include minorities, and then L's and G's and B's and T's and pluses and twos and Q's and F's and whatever. So this white dude won a riding and lost it, it was a disabled Jamaican chick who lost it. And she brought this case up to the NDP. He's like, hey, what about our minority stuff? And he's like, I'm bisexual. So I'm the B. So it turns out if you are, it's a white guy, and you want to maintain public office and that, you join to save yourself the thing. And bisexual is the easiest one. You could be married, you can have kids, you can only date women, but you identify as bisexual. And what are they going to do? They're going to tell you, sir, I'm going to need you to blow this guy and prove it to me. You're like, no, what are you, racist? What are you, a Trump fan? How dare you, sir? How dare you? There you go. There was another Canadian dude went trans to save on car insurance. Smart man. Like I said, that's the game right now. But again, reality's not real. Everybody's so too proud to admit, dude, just if they're offering a government grant to content creators that identify as things, I would identify as a thing. Absolutely. Free money. Somebody's going to get that free money. And there's, all right, I'm going to end it on this because it's kind of getting a little off topic, but was it Bullock's Law? Gershwin's Law? Hold on a second here. I want to make sure I get the right name. Economic Law, good, money, bad. Oh, no. It's not Gresham. Oh, it is Gresham's Law. Yeah, Gresham's Law. So bad money drives out good. If you have like gold coins and then you have an equal currency that's like a dollar bill. $1 bill worth one gold coin. Eventually, all the coins are going to be removed from the economy and all the bills will take over. Bad money drives out good. Same here. If, the LGBT is the worst thing ever, and whatever, I don't care. Then yeah, it's going to take over, and the good Christian conservatives are going to be weeded out. So it's like, get with the program or just be ruined. Like, I get it. Everybody loves to pretend they're the underdog, but at the same time, do you really want to be a martyr for a group that doesn't give a shit about you? Like, do you want to be? And unless you're getting money from it, and don't get me wrong, there is a great conservative grift of being the martyr and coming back after. It's weird. Did you ever notice the cancel culture and the mental model of Christ coming back from the dead seem so closely related? Oh my God, he got betrayed by one of them evil liberals, and then he got canceled on the cross for 3 days, and then he came back, and now he's back. Just watch. Tate will have some new pivot where he's like all of a sudden talking about media manipulation and how the liberals are going to take your guns and all this shit. I would laugh my ass off. It'll be just, and you'll see him 2 years from now with a "take that, woke feminists." I will laugh my ass off. Oh, that's awesome. And then everybody will be like treating him. They'll find out some story like he was on diazepams and had to go to like some screw up, and he'll have his Jordan Peterson fall from grace. And then he'll be just like, cashing out his brand. It's like, whatever. And then everybody will be like, I never liked that guy at all. It's like, dude, I put a tweet out on Reddit where somebody was commenting on my Andrew Tate is not your friend article. He's like, dude, a lot of these comments are going to age very, very badly. And I completely agree. They absolutely will. So I'm going to set up something new here in the meantime while these load. Let's have a little fun.
Boom, what's up, fam? Got some big news to share that unfortunately is not so good, so I'm gonna jump right into it. You're gonna watch this video and you're gonna cry. At least we can laugh at your eyes as you cry, looking in the corner like a little girl in the fetal position.
It's the little things. It's where I zoom in as he's ranting about how much he hates Rolo. That I'm like, it adds to, oh my God, what's he gonna say? Oh, and it's like, yeah, dipshit. Okay, what time are we on? 42 minutes. We're going to go over some mental models from the second book. If you've subscribed to the newsletter, and if you haven't, I don't know why you haven't. Here, I'll put you a link even. HTTPS. Because of course. There it is. Let's pin that mother. Pin the message. Sign up, it's free. I know you've probably signed up to newsletters before, and it's dudes talking about how great they are. I remember I was on AJ Cortez's one once, and he told like this 1,000-word story about how he had a bagel and it was delicious, and I was like, Jesus Christ, dude. How fucking brutal are you where that's like, yeah, this will sell an affiliate course to Hustlers University? It's like, come on, man. Hell is wrong with you? All right. So on mine, it's mostly... So I've written the third draft. Again, it's a beast of a book. It's almost to the point where I almost want to make it into 2 books, like a volume 1 and volume 2. I don't know what kind of attention span we're working with, so we'll have to see. Oh, I know that's most newsletters. For a while there, when I was trying to learn how to do it, I would just subscribe to everybody's newsletter and read it, and I realized I can't learn a damn thing from this. Everybody's talking about the tricks, the tips for increased engagement rate and all that, and I'm like, y'all are just blabbing about your fucking day. It's turned into chicks talking about, like, when you go to Starbucks, I don't know if you guys do. I love Starbucks. I got through an entire university degree at Starbucks. And I'll sit there, and there's always these 2 chicks. There's one who's wearing an infinity scarf who's holding her coffee like this to keep her hands warm because she's got no circulation. And then there's another one that's like sitting like this, kind of like Karen in training, just running her mouth about the dude she railed last night or something like that, while the other one's living vicariously through her. It's like, oh, tell me more. And I remember every time I went, there was always one of these PSL bitches, and I was like, oh my God. So I got in the habit of like putting, like that's when I got into polyphasic tunes when I was studying. Not because like, oh, this is the best way for brain stuff. It's because if I listen to music, I start focusing on the music instead of what I'm doing. Even if it's instrumental music. Because I listen to the tunes, I follow the patterns, whatever. But if that's just noise, it drowns out the nonsense. So that's my big beat here. If you want polyphasic tunes, go for it, because it'll shut that bitch up. Where was I going with this one? I forgot what the point of this story was. Oh, the emails, yeah. And so get the draft finished, and then the editing process. So editing is like a pain in the ass. Whenever anybody tells you editing it's the hardest part. It's literally the halfway point is when you start editing. And I found, first book, I basically start at the beginning, edit it, reading through all the way to the end. And I do that like 3 or 4 times. And then by the 5th time, you hate your life and you don't ever want to see the book again. You give it to an editor and you hope they fix it and you can be done with it. So this time I'm trying a different approach. I'm basically just randomly selecting sections and cleaning them up. Your first run, you want to do the simple stuff. Spell check, grammar check, make sure it flows. Don't worry too much about the content. And then the second time you go through, and you remove like superfluous, like sometimes you repeat yourself. Sometimes you make a point that's a little off topic so you can get rid of it. You have filler words like, on the other hand, however, and you just get rid of shit like that. You cut it down. Yeah, I listen to white noise at MBA school. Okay, so you see it too. Just find an hour-long video. I've got a specific one that I use. I'm not going to share it, but it's good. It's study something 12. It's got a blue background. I always liked it because it occasionally goes higher and lower for a little bit of variety. And I always love it when you turn it off. It's like you snap back into reality. Anyway, so once I run through that first set of editing, you have 90% of the way towards like a good article. And so I take those and I condense it down to like 500 words, 1,000 at most. Because another thing I'm noticing guys don't do well on emails is they make it too long. Like, you have to realize, like, you're asking somebody, here, give me a piece of your time, read my content. And they sign up, they're like, yeah, I want to see more of your stuff. So you kind of have to realize that somebody is like, I am giving you a piece of my attention for a brief period of time. So you have to respect that. Like, don't put out a stupid article about your fucking bagel that you had in the morning. How fucking self-important do you think you have to be when you're doing that? So I'm like, you know what? No. I want something, and that's always been my goal. I want something that you should be able to read in 15 minutes or less. Like, literally, I'm at a coffee break at work. I'm having a cigarette, having a drink, coffee, whatever. I want to be able to read this while I'm on the toilet and be done with it. So I'm like, right there. I think that shows a decent amount of reverence and respect for a person's time. And so I take an entire piece, which is like 1,000 to 2,000 words, and I condense it down to like maybe 4 or 5 paragraphs. So here is, now that I've given you all of that preamble that has nothing to do with nothing, let's start talking about the articles. What's this one? 47 or 48? But that's when you can tell, when people do the email marketing, are they actually trying to build a rapport with an audience, or are they just trying to shill shit? Because that's the thing. You fill it up with ads, and then you hope somebody buys it. Most of these are just like Sears catalog. They're like the, what's that you get in the mail, where you get all those flyers for like Sears and the Bay and Pizza Hut and whatever. That's all the email newsletters are. So you try and make it different. So here's the first one. I'm going to go over a few of them. I did like 4. They're basically coming out every day for the next 60 days. And then by the time that's done, the editing's done. And then it's a short stint from there to the release of the book. So it'll be good. Children with Dynamite. I go over that one. That's the first one. So there's a great section I have at the end of my book where I was realizing I have a bunch of mental models, go in depth about frame, go in depth about, and there'll be a concept I'll go over later called the frame tetrahedron. Not later today, but later, later. The frame tetrahedron, the difference between inner game and outer game, a basic bitch roadmap to dread, which has always been one of those terms like dread and frame have always been very poorly defined. So this is really interesting. So after all of these ones and all the mental models that fit into those categories, there was a category at the end that I didn't know where to put stuff. And that's the common mistakes guys make. And so I just call it just like, don't eat paint. And the first one was Children with Dynamite. So if you read it, I think it came out last Monday. You should blog. Simple is Google's new meta. Oh, that's good to know. And so I go over, the mental models that you have to use to red pill yourself if that's what your goal is. You gotta understand, like, your relationship is dead. Maybe not physically dead, but you have to assume it is. Remember that? Reality's not real? Well, that's what I'm getting at here. She's not dead. She's right there. She hates you. She doesn't sleep with you. She's bitchy, whatever. You gotta assume that's over. It's dead. She's not coming back. You're not getting back together. All you're doing right now is going through the motions. And you're angry about it. You should be angry about it. If you're not angry about it, then it's not hurting. That means you have a grievance, and that means you have some kind of acute pain. Now, that anger and that pain, you have to use that to motivate your initial burst of activities, because your neuroplasticity increases. You're able to learn new things when you're angry. Turns out that's how it works. Until you're angry, until you've been hurt, you tend not to incorporate new mental models in your life. And then, ideally, if you do it right, out of the other side, you've developed yourself a new worldview, a new set of mental models, a new way of looking at the world and perceiving things. That's frame. How you frame the world around you. And then, and this is the final part, is that you got to realize that after all this is done, you're in charge of your own life. Like, you're the safety net. And so Children with Dynamite, it was neat. Like, if you read it, Rollo talks about it, where it's just a guy who tries to use red pill mental models to fulfill blue pill goals. And I agree. That's true, but that's not where I'm going at here. You have to accept that you're the bad guy. Like, yes, Virginia, you do have to be an asshole. It's because men are what we do, right? And that's where you hit a lot of guys like, oh my God, you're doing red pill stuff? All women are like that? That's so evil and misogynist. And that's like, they can't even frame it properly. Like, they frame it as some kind of moral objectivity. You are a good man or you are a bad man, and we, the Council of Elders, aka, Karen, is the judge of that. And then you kind of realize, no, morality is pretty subjective. This is good for me, the way I act. It's probably not good for you, or it's just it doesn't even matter. It doesn't fill into your worldview at all. So, I don't care. Morally, it's good for me. If it sounds familiar, you might have heard of the terms master and slave morality. That's a Nietzsche thing. Or, I know Marcus Aurelius and de la Rochefort had the same thing, but it's like, whatever. What's good for you is good. What's bad for you is bad, morally speaking. Now, it's not saying act like a complete sociopath. Here's your don't eat paint warning. There's a lot of times where you doing things that are in your best interest but extremely detrimental to those around you is actually detrimental to you. Case in point, robbing a bank. You rob a bank because you want money and money's good for you. But by you robbing a bank, cops don't like you and they shoot you in the face. So obviously, it's not about running willy-nilly. But it's about always putting yourself first as the mental point of origin when you do stuff. And for a lot of guys, they don't internalize that you are the main character in your story like this. And this is where I think the insidious part of Children with Dynamite comes into play. And it falls into this weird narcissistic fantasy. A lot of guys, they call them red pill aware. They're guys that they read the books. They like being in the same way that I talked to you before about how a lot of kids have Tourette's or LGBTQ because that's what all the cool kids are doing. Kids join the red pill because it's like, oh, that's what all the cool kids, mind you, they're not cool, but that's what they're doing. And so you think it's an act. Oh, I'm just play acting like an alpha male. I'm not actually an alpha male. Internally, like, I'm still me and I'm being myself, but I play act as like the Andrew Tate, and then the girls like me. Here's the problem with that, though. You are what you do. So that is you, because you're acting that way. Men go in their own, you can't go any other way than yourself, man. That's it. You just can't. Even if you're acting like somebody else, you're still acting like yourself. You're acting like yourself, acting like somebody else. Unless you're Tom Cruise. None of us are Tom Cruise. They get with a girl. The girl responds well to it. And here's the funny part. When you haven't internalized it, you start to dislike the girl for finding you attractive. It's a fucked up thing. But you start to think to yourself, well, if I can trick her so easy, how stupid is she? I can't love this woman. She's an idiot. Meanwhile, all she was like is, this guy is great. He's so much fun to be around. He makes me feel great. He makes me feel secure. He makes me tingle. I love this guy. And you're sitting here going, what an idiot. How dare you like me? And this is where it falls into that, I call it unhealthy narcissism. It's like the roadmap for it. You have your narcissistic fantasy where, you're the genius. You're the greatest guy ever. They just don't understand. But you're putting on these tips and tricks because you just want to get laid. And then the narcissistic fuel is where you need everybody else to validate your made-up identity all the time, like the Secret King shit. You must respect me. I am the greatest man. I'm super smart. I am the alpha male. Then, when a girl rejects it, and it's weird because in this case, her liking you pretending to be a good man is her attacking your original identity, and that's what causes a narcissistic injury, which actually causes some damage, right? Psychologically, it's basically like a rejection of who you are. In the same way a lot of guys have approach anxiety, they can have this. And then that causes a narcissistic rage. Now, rage, I use rage, not anger there. Well, not just me, but the people I've taken it from too. The reason it's rage is because it's not anger. Anger is a social emotion, involves a social grievance and social pain. Rage doesn't need either of them. It's more limbic brain. Best example I can think of, anybody here ever seen a 2-year-old losing their shit and you don't know why? That's it. It's like ego run amok. Yeah, and like you guys are joking in here. Like, where's the guy in the Atomic Dynamite? You're an idiot for not liking my actual identity of being a defective woman. Exactly. I know it sounds weird, and guys don't think of it that way. And if you tell them that's what they're thinking, they argue with you. But by all accounts, the way they act, that's a very clear definition of it. So what you have to do is, as a guy, you have to internalize, like, I am not who I think I am what I do. You know the whole id, ego, superego, the 4 different versions of you? There's what I think I am, what you think I am, what I think you think I am, and what you think I think of myself. The 4 different versions of you, right? So you always assume, you know, people think of me what I think of me. Well, that's not really the case. They think other thing else. And it involves a layer of empathy, and it's difficult as a skill to learn, especially if you're autistic. You just literally are missing all these things. So your identity, the way you think of your identity is the same way you look at a character in a movie. Well, he's the cool, suave guy. All the women want him. All the men want to be him. That's me. But you're not paying attention to how other people act around you. And that kind of gives you an indication. And this is where the actual intelligence comes in. If you see how people around you are treating you, that influences part of your identity. How you think of yourself influences that part of your identity. How others will change their behavior based on how they think you think of yourself will change that identity. Now, I'm not going to say, like, here's some experiments. It's not the point. The point is just to understand there's a constant feedback loop. 4 different things applying pressure on you to be what you are. And the only one you have control over is what you do to think of yourself and how you perceive how others are reacting to it. That's it. So those are the only things you can focus on because they're the only things you can control, and you control them. You can't control what they think about you, but you realize if I act a certain way, people will treat me a certain way. So in this case, I act like, you know, I have game, I'm charming, I'm suave, I can put a sentence together, I can elicit emotions, all that pickups, game stuff, right? And then people start acting more attractive to you. Instead of shedding that, saying, that's a horrible thing, how dare you? I thought of myself as this, but you're rejecting that. You're an asshole. It's like, no, that's who you are. It's just one of the ways of who you are, and you just have to accept it. I'm going to be the bad guy for some people. I'm going to be the good guy for some people. I am my own mental point of origin, and that's the big difference between guys who get it and guys who don't. Is that they get rid of their ego. They get rid of that. They stop treating that first quadrant of identity as the only quadrant of identity, and they take a more holistic approach. Now, I don't actually articulate that stuff because that gets way too, like, psychologically philosophical. It's way head up my own ass, and I don't talk about it. But that's essentially what happens. The email, on the other hand, is way easier to digest than that. Okay? So don't worry about it. Yeah, I ain't shit, and that's okay. That's part of it. What I think of myself isn't the biggest factor in who I am. It's 25% of the factor. Now, I'm not going to rank them, but you know what I mean? Yeah. Just found out that my wife listens to Lizzo. Time to upgrade, I guess. What the hell is a Lizzo? Is Lizzo like a rapper? To 5 signs that you're an alpha wolf, Chad, manly man. Number 3 will surprise you. Yeah. So let's move on to the next one here. Oh, wait, you know what? Before we move on to the next one, let's have some more fun.
We know that these videos really prey on vulnerable young men who have not had many experiences in dating.
I never, dude, I haven't pissed anybody off in a while. I need to get more of these going. but I'm not in love with you. Brett the Bachelor, $10 super chat with the fine-looking redhead in the photo. I'm assuming you're the guy, not the redhead. But if you are, whatever. I don't discriminate. In person, if someone pisses me off, I pretend like they don't exist, and it really works. Yeah, because that's the thing. Why are they trying to piss you off? And here's the thing. Brett's been around a while. He's kind of got his shit sorted out. For a lot of guys, people get pissed off because they don't engage in your self-identity. Those kind of angers, that's the narcissistic injury I'm talking about. But when you got your shit together, you have a consistent worldview, you realize when somebody pisses you off and you haven't done anything to elicit that, chances are it's just, what is it? Buster said that earlier. Hurt people. And you realize that's what they're doing. Oh, they're just trying to hurt me. All right, I get it. And then, you just ignore it. Like, whatever. I don't need to deal with this shit. Lizzo won't break your heart, but she'll crush you. 500-pound singer. Oh, is that the Black Adele that was wearing the garbage bag at the thing? I briefly saw a thing on Twitter. That's too funny. If you don't know who Lizzo is, consider yourself blessed. Yeah. You need a heartfelt commercial. Maybe. That's not a bad idea. There's one, and John Anthony Lifestyle was the other one that people wanted to get. The one where he's ripping into me for whatever reason. I don't like those because he's not very entertaining and funny. He's missing the panache that Anthony Johnson has, but we'll see what we can do. Yeah, I guess that's why furries roleplay so much. They can pretend to be an alpha wolf with a Chad body based on some drawing that they commissioned for themselves. Yeah. Anyways, next one. So it's I love you, but I'm not in love with you. I like this one because it's... So I don't want this book to be like The Secret or How to Win Friends and Influence People or all those books. They're nice, happy, sunny. They make big promises. Oh, you'll be the best man ever. Just follow these 7 tricks and tips. What are some other examples? The dark arts, influence, mastery, all of them. So I love you, but I'm not in love with you was giving you a little bit of a dirtier side of this. Like to let you know there's no success at the other end. Or at the very least, the way you think of success, which kind of ties into Children with Dynamite. And a big one is a lot of guys will get that, I love you, but I'm not in love with you. It's a common thing. If it's a girl is unhappy with the relationship, she's basically saying, you're no longer my hypergamous best option. So when a lot of guys hear this, they assume, oh, that means I can fight and do some things to get her to fall in love with me again. It's not the case. Most often, that's when a girl has started to love, a new hypergamous best option. She's moved on. If you talk Franco and David Clare, Practical Female Psychology, in the betaization process, the process that women take over time in their relationships, this is at the very end. This is self-determination. This is when she's found the top man that she can find, gets the most out of him, gets a kid, gets effort and all that shit, psychologically distance herself to move on. This is the moving on part. And usually when a guy hears this, it's already too late. The relationship is dead and over. And this is why that treat the relationship as if it's dead might be true. It was a great post we had. There was 20 guys in there. Field reports over an entire year. And it was showing, every one of these guys heard, I love you, but I'm not in love with you. And it's crazy. First one, what's this guy? Wife became pleasant during the separation. Gave him the speech. She moved in with an affair partner after knowing him for 11 days. That's where I love you, but I'm not in love with you went. She divorced him. But he's sitting there okay, what do I do? How do I win her back? And you're like, this is why you don't try to win her back. This is why I keep telling you guys the relationship is dead, Operation Scorched Earth. Because once you're at that point of desperation where you're actually willing to listen, you're probably too far gone. And if you're not, it's better to prepare for it anyway, because you can always walk it back. Another guy married a single mom. 5 months later, after he starts with his red pill stuff, when she wasn't sleeping with him, got the I love you, but not in love with you. She wanted space. She moved out. Sleeping with another guy, and then he left her. 2 months into his map, another I love you, but I'm not in love with you. This guy, Processed Food Kills, was his username. Went out with her friends to go watch a movie at their apartment while she was all dressed up, while she was ovulating. It's part of the red pill thing, too, is to kind of understand your cycles, the estrus cycle, for little red flags like this. Anyways, finds in some emails. She's already talking with another man, slept with him multiple times. He leaves her. But I was it was nice because there was maybe 20 examples. And I'm here, I want you to see this. Just because you're in a struggling marriage and somebody's given you the concept of dread and showed you the red pill, you're not necessarily going to win back your wife. Your wife may already be gone. Your relationship may already be dead. This is why you cannot fix the marriage. You can only fix yourself. Your girl's job is to fix the relationship. These guys here wasted a lot of time trying to fix their relationship while she's already off sleeping with other dudes. And there's tons of examples of this. And I know everybody knows the meme, right? Like, oh, I knew it. I need space. I knew I effed up, just not why and how. But that's the point. Fix up those whys and hows, because otherwise you're just going to make the same mistake with the next girl. Either you select for certain traits you find attractive based on what you've had in the past, which most men do. We don't actually learn to go after what we like. We learn to like what we get. So. And it's funny, too, because I'll talk to you guys, and they've talked to them. Everybody thinks, oh, those dudes are obviously delusional. She said she needed space. You know what that means. I'm not stupid like that. And yeah, nobody is stupid like that. If I were to tell you 100 stories, you'll be able to pick out with 90% accuracy which ones are too far gone and which ones are maybe. But here's the thing. When you're in the situation, when you're emotionally invested, you have blinders on. You can't see any of this. So you really do have to tell a guy, look, your wife's a cheating whore. She's already dead. Go work on your stuff. Because on the off chance she is, well, I shouldn't even say off chance. On the chance that she is, you're not going to see it. You're just not. I don't care how tough somebody talks on the online. You can be the biggest alpha male that ever alphaed. I guarantee you, when it happens to him, he won't see it coming, because that's how guys work. That's how wife goggles work. That's why the stay plan is the same as the go plan. And guys like, they think that's the case, but they always end up putting it on her to solve some problems. I need my wife to sleep with me more. I need her to stop doing this. I need her to stop doing that. It's like, and then they'll say right after, the stay plan is the same as the go plan. If she doesn't do this, I'm out of here. It's like, no, that's not the same thing. Stop losing money. Gain control of the treasury. That's a proper goal. That's saying, I refuse to have my money being siphoned out, and taking steps for that. So she can be a spendthrift, because you can't stop that. And it's hard. A lot of guys have never had to frame things where they are the sole person responsible for their success or failure, because they're raised like we're all raised like defective women. And so we like to think of like communal goals as our personal goals. Well, the family needs to do this. The family needs to do that. It's like, bro, no. You need to start sorting out what you can do. And if there's things you have no control over, assume they're gone. It's like one of the great ones in the Controlling the Treasury article. It's about guys like getting his like spendthrifty wife to stop damaging the family. Well, stopping himself from being in a position where he gives her money to do it. And the big thing for him was, yeah, so I have my account, she has her account, and then we have a joint account for bills and that. And because it's a joint account, she can take all of it out at any time. So that's gone. Anything I put in there is considered a gift. Which is true. I have sailed with guys that went on deployment, and then when they get home, the joint account was cleared out. Girl went to Vegas spent 10 grand in a weekend kind of thing, and then starts the divorce. So now he can't even afford a lawyer, and she's paying for the lawyer because he'll have to pay for the lawyer, otherwise it's seen as coercion. Shit like that. It's pretty brutal. Yeah. Brett, what's this? Wait, who's this Brett? Somebody redeployed? Oh, 4 deployments wrecked me. I feel like I'm 70. Dude, I can imagine. Even after 1 deployment, I had like an eye twitch for about a year. It took a year to finally go away, dude. Fun fact. Deployed pirate hunting. Sailed around the world. A whole year to get all that stuff done. Nothing. I joined the Manosphere. For 2 years, my hair starts turning gray. You son of a bitches are just killing people. Rich Cooper's hair was a nice chestnut brown color until he joined the Manosphere. You guys are aging people. You're killing us. You're killing us. Anywho, basic pay for an E1 with less than 4 months of active duty is $16.95. Well, that's good to know. Anyway. So yeah, I love you, but I'm not in love with you. Doesn't apply to you until it does, man. And let me get another break into these ones. Oh yeah, let's use Titty McGee.
One of the guys who ran the Red Pill channel sent me a message. I actually appreciate that you took it from an idea-based perspective instead of ever resorting to personal attack. Like, if this movement is actually going to be dangerous, do we need to understand it so that we can take it down? I knew going into it that this might be a hot mess. I'm not going to have those guys back on my channel again. Absolutely not.
Tits McKee is on vacation. I'm Alicia Corningstone, or whatever they called her. So the next one's Operation Scorched Earth, and that's kind of where I was getting at there. Yeah, Tits McGee. Nice milkers. Yeah. So you just have to kind of plan for these things. Anyway, Operation Scorched Earth, that was Wednesday's email, which is nice. I kind of like this, by the way, so it's like a good way of like solidifying this stuff. So Operation Scorched Earth, when most guys start to work on their roadmap or their map or their whatever you want to call it. I got to stop calling it a map because a lot of people are like, you know that stands for minor attracted persons, right? I'm like, no, there's many maps in the world and that's only one of them. How come nobody ever says, hey, you mean like Jordan Peterson's Maps and Meanings? Like, no, I don't mean that either, but at least it's not about the diddlers. Looks like an unbaked biscuit. Yeah, whatever. It was pleasant to talk to until her audience got a hold of her, but then, you know, it was cool to call us cult leaders, so whatever. Am I a cult leader? If I get you guys to drink Kool-Aid, would you do it for me? Drink the Kool-Aid, sons of bitches. So Operation Scorched Earth, your relationship is dead. If you don't know, Operation Scorched Earth is the idea of like salting the land, basically destroying everything. It's all done. It's all over. It's like a Hail Mary last-ditch effort. And so, yeah, you're not going in there with the stupid covert contracts. A lot of guys have them. They basically think if I do these tips and tricks, I'll win back my wife and she'll blow me as a thank you. It's not the case. You can't act that way. What flavor Kool-Aid? Which one's the dead hemlock flavored? Hemlock Kool-Aid. Burn it all down. So you have to assume this is dead. She doesn't love me. Maybe she never did. She may be cheating. She maybe not. This relationship is over. I need to start living as if she's already dead. And it's like you have to really, really conceptualize this mental model. Maybe she still loves you and she's waiting for you to step up. Maybe she's just having a rough time in her life and you need to come to terms with that. Maybe it's your fault. Maybe it's hers. Maybe she's cheating. Maybe she is dead and it's her doppelganger. Who knows? The point is it doesn't matter. She's dead to you. So what do? Well, you pay your bills. You clean your house. You fix things that need fixing. You take the kids to soccer practice. And you're like, geez, that's a lot of work. I'm like, yes, it is a lot of work. But here's the thing. Now that you're doing that work, you see everything that goes into your household. And then you could start paring things down. You have to start making decisions about what's important to you and what isn't. Maybe those house payments mean you're working 16 hours a day. You don't have time to make yourself lunch when you're on your cut. You don't have time to drive the kids to school. So ask yourself, is it worth having this house when 3 of your rooms in that house are dedicated to just storing clutter? Probably not. Is it worth the 90-hour commute to work each way just so you can come home and not enjoy your house? No. So what choices do you have to make? Maybe you move closer to your work. I want to move walking distance to work. The house may cost more per square footage, so you get a smaller square footage place. You don't have your 3 rooms of storage, but you haven't touched that shit in years, so you just throw it out. You start to design a life that's worth living. You have to make these choices. Maybe the kids have 5 extracurricular activities. They don't like 4 of them, but you know, as a good parent, you're supposed to take your kids to soccer, to violin, to this, to that, Montessori. And you're like, you know what? Fuck all this. Dude, you get 1 activity after school. Go to your soccer practice. It's right after school. We'll pick you up afterwards. I'm not going to drive you back and forth everywhere to 17 different tournaments. That's it. Because you don't have time for anything else. Again, hard decisions. Same thing here. You're learning to cut. So, okay, is it easier? I could hire a maid. I could hire a cook to clean my house and to make my meals. I can learn how to prep cook. And then you learn how to make, similar meals all the time. Maybe you're spending like way too much on food, so you need to like pare it back. Or I need to learn how to do some basics like cabbage soup and stuff like that. And they're delicious meals and they're filling meals and they're easy meals. You make it on Sunday, now you have food for a week, right? So you make all these decisions based on the limited time you have in the day and the limited resources you have. In other words, you live your life according to what's best for you. You're literally going your own way. And you're not expecting literally expecting nothing from the wife. You don't want her input on it. You're not putting up with her disagreements. You're not putting up with her arguments. It's because it's just like, I don't care. If my happiness was anywhere in your concern, I wouldn't have been so desperate to come online and look up these dudes. So fuck it. You're not angry. I mean, maybe you're angry about it, obviously. But the point is, you're acting with resolve. You're not basing your decisions on your anger. And then one of 2 things happens. Either Actually, you know what? Before I get to that, I'll say it's like a really good quote. I put it in a lot in the book. Where did it go? Do I even have it on this section? I didn't. So I'll try to get the quote right. I've written it down like 50 times already, so I should be able to get it. From that work comes confidence. From that confidence comes expectations. From that expectations comes authority. And from that authority comes investment. So yeah, one of two things happen. One, you have your shit together. You're becoming more attractive. You're becoming less unattractive. You're taking charge of life. It's nobody else's fault but yours. Nobody else's responsibility but yours. It's a very comfortable place. But you know how clean you want your place to be. You know how you like your meals prepped. You know what activities you want your kids to be in. You know what kind of house you want to live in. That comes with expectations. Anybody coming into my life has to improve it in these specific areas. And with those expectations, if a girl sees a guy that's attractive, her hypergamous best option, generally speaking, they want to do things to make that person happy. That's how they make themselves happy. That's borderline in a nutshell, like healthy levels of borderline. And everything works out and everybody's happy and have a bunch of great sex and you guys forget about the bad times that never even happened. And you just laugh to yourself. Of course not. It was a rough time, but things happen. Yeah, of course they do. Or, alternatively, you're sitting there, washing the dishes, prepping the kids' lunch for the morning, looking at that light socket, thinking, I need to fix the electricity in this place. And you look over at your wife, sitting there in her university sweatshirt, hair up in a top bun, no makeup on, cheeks are getting a little chubbier, chewing on bonbons, and you're like, she's looking uglier day by day. She doesn't sleep with me at all. In fact, she's kind of a pain in the ass to deal with. And she's an anchor dragging me down. Why the fuck do I have this psycho in my life? Like, why do I need this? And you lose those wife goggles. And then you start making decisions. Okay, so how do I replace her? Now, it's at the end of the book. I haven't gotten into that yet. There's like the four resolutions of dread. We'll get into that, but it's kind of interesting because they all come with their own benefits and problems. But yeah, so from Operation Scorched Earth, you end up in one of two situations. You either end up as the dominant authority in your relationship and the other people start to submit to it. Everything is happy. Everybody's wonderful. The benevolent dictator, they call it. Or two, you start to value your self-worth and your dignity enough to make hard decisions and kick people out of your life that are nothing but a detriment to it. Either way, you win. Either way. Number 3 will surprise you. Exactly. Either way. I need another break here. Rich Cooper's advice. Probably the best advice I've ever received from anybody. And I still use it to this day. Don't work with retards. And don't work with people who work with retards. Damn, that's good. Oh yeah, setting yourself on fire to keep others warm. What's the timestamp on this one? 1:18. Bum, bum, bum. Kind of like the little quick breather while I show somebody taking a shit on me in the thing. There it is. Setting yourself on fire to keep others warm. This one's actually pretty bad. A lot of guys do this. It's the idea of sacrifice. Male love. Isn't there a possibility that dudes do all this self-improvement as a covert contract? There absolutely is. In fact, it's very common that guys do it. That's actually... There's a name for that. There's another mental model to describe that. It's the 2-year singing and dancing monkey improvement program. Yeah. And then once the guys, they shed that. Yeah. Trust me. Like this is thoroughly researched. This is why it took so goddamn long. Just the research alone made it a struggle to write. And now I kind of got it to a place where I'm just writing it down. So it's good. It's basically everything you wanted to know about the red pill, but were afraid to ask. And if you've been following my content, you'll probably catch on and recognize maybe 60% of it. But you'd be surprised how much stuff is out there. Like, when people say, like, I've forgotten more about this than you guys have ever known. Like, I get it. I get it now. Because I had to go back into the research and I'm like, oh yeah. Like 40% of this book is like, oh yeah, I remember this. And now you get to remember it, which is going to be awesome. The only problem we have now is it's too long. So I'm going to have to cut it down. And if I can't cut it down, I'll either make a second copy of it or do one of those things and charge like $30 for the book. But I'm like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to make it like out of the range of people's reading budgets. We need a Ryan Stone talking shit about Ryan Stone promo. Do we indeed? All right, setting yourself on fire to keep others warm. So it's a primal thing. Everybody thinks that's like, oh, that's women raised us to be slaves. Like, no, it's kind of the way we were always, like, we're hardwired for it. Because it turns out, as a species, women are the evolutionary bottleneck. A woman can have maybe 10 kids throughout her entire life. You know, she's got 10 good years to pump out kids. That's it. That's assuming they all live and there's enough resources. Guys, every day you can bust a nut, pop out another kid. Bam, 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 bam. But one guy can impregnate like 100 women over his lifetime. But one woman can only have like a handful of kids. So, just by basic mathematics, societies that predisposed men to being disposable and sacrificial tended to survive and thrive in lands of scarcity. You know, 18 guys out of the 30 died to a tribe attack or a bear attack or whatever. But the remaining guys were still there and able to knock up enough women to keep the tribe going. But if that same bear attack kills half the women, the tribe is basically dead. So you go through this, you basically self-select for guys who are self-sacrificial because that's the instinct that allows us to survive and thrive. This is where I love where guys are like, it's just evolution, baby. You got to trust your genetic whatever. I'm like, yeah, really? Really? Do you want that? Because you lighting yourself on fire to keep your woman warm is your genetic imperative. You need to sacrifice yourself so she can continue to pump out the babies. That's your genetic legacy. Is that what you want? Is it really? Or do you only want the genetic legacy stuff where I'm designed to knock up chicks and be Genghis Khan? It's like, no, you're not. That guy is. And you're not that guy. You're not that guy, bud. You're not that guy. Nobody's that guy. One guy is that guy. And it's not Tate. It's not Blitzarian. It's not Rolo. It's some random dude in Waco, Texas, who get burned by the cops anyway. So do you really want to be that guy? I don't think you do. I don't think you want to just surrender yourself to your genetic imperative because you don't like where it goes. Trust me. It's the male version of love, sacrificial. It's a play on, never go full hard. Thank you very much, Jennifer. It's a good way of putting it. So yeah, the problems with it is just that. You have an appreciation you want for it. Well, I sacrificed all these things for you. Girls don't care. They can't even conceptualize it because they think of love as opportunism. So when they see you being sacrificial, they see that as a power play. What do you mean? Well, it's like, you know when girls act like the victim? Oh my God, everybody's treating me so horrible. I'm so bad. And they ruined me here and they did this to me and they did this and they did that. Girls are doing that as a social flex. They're doing it as a way to garner sympathy in the community and to ostracize somebody else. So when they see you talking about your sacrifices for the family, that's how they perceive it. They can't perceive it any other way. Same way as like you can't see blue and not see blue, you know? So when you get there, all your sacrifices not only don't engender sympathy from her or empathy, they actually get disdain, disgust. Oh, I can't believe this guy's trying to flex on me with my tricks. How dare he try to outwomen me? My tits are bigger than his slightly. Doug Chisholm, sir, thank you for the 49 and 99 cents super chat. Good morning. From Southern USA, just saying thanks. I'm better for this education, 2 years and going strong. Absolutely, dude. We've chatted a few times, and it's been fun. Like, you don't tell me a lot, but the stuff you do tell me, it's great to see your life getting better and better day by day. Sir, if I could wrap this up and give it as a gift to other people for $59.99, I absolutely would. But unfortunately, the talent of individuals are the only way to get there. So yeah, you get credit for everything you've done, sir. I will, however, take the money and a heartfelt thank you. But yeah, he didn't light himself on fire to keep others warm. You guys won't either. I remember telling a girl I did it for her. She said, I didn't ask you to do that. Ouch, that hurt. I wanted to fall on my knees and cry, but you learned this channel's like therapy. It's better than therapy. It's effective, and I don't give you drugs. Los drogas. Fuck that. But yeah, so as a guy, you realize that self-sacrificial nature, yeah, that may be good from a genetic standpoint, but genes, you're not playing a game with genetics. You're not a player. You're actually the ball. The genes are playing a game, and their timeline is eons. You're just the ball for one play. That's it. So your genetic imperative may have been a good sexual strategy back then, but life is always changing. The dinosaurs were the king of the world until the meteor hit. Then all of a sudden, the guys that were self-selected for not being giant dinosaurs survived while the dinosaurs died off. Think about that. I could argue we are pretty much making the case that male sacrifice in our land of current abundance is over. The meteor has hit. The meteor was the birth control bill. I would argue the meteor was the steam engine built in like the 1700s, but you know what I mean. It's his true alpha male 42069 pivot. Oh yeah, Mish. So okay, with Mish's strategy, yes, but with a giant caveat. Make sure she's not a crazy chick. Hypothetically, of course. So you realize, yeah, it's all these sacrifices you do, they're not being respected, they're not being valued, she doesn't care, and she sees them more as like a flex, a social flex, and it taps into her frenemies adversarial thing, right? So what do you do with that information? Well, you just realize that lighting yourself on fire to keep others warm is a failed mental model and does not work. So when you do things, now I'm not saying don't make a sacrifice for the family, do that, but what would you do differently if I told you whatever sacrifice you're going to make, everybody would hate you for it? Would you still do it? And if the answer is probably not, and if you're really honest with yourself, everybody wants appreciation for doing something that helps. Everybody. So if you're not going to get appreciation for it, if you're not willing to do it, then don't do it. Again, it's not a gift if you have expectations attached to it. It's the easiest way to put it. Buy your girl flowers with the understanding that she can just pick them up and throw them in the trash as you hand them to her, and you're fine with that. If you're not fine with that, don't give her flowers. Give her access to your bank account. Are you okay doing that if she spends it all and doesn't tell you? If not, then don't give her joint bank access. Well, that's what a real man does. Yeah, well, a real man sacrificed himself 20,000 years ago so you could sit here waxing prophetically about chopping wood with your shirtless kids on the beach, you fucking idiot. Yeah, if it's her social circle, you will completely crush her. So, don't light yourself on fire to keep others warm. Again, and there's like a corollary to this one. I don't know if I put it in here yet, so I won't talk about it till maybe next podcast. But it's the put your mask on before you assist others. It's the only way it works. You basically have to make sure you're taken care of, and then when you're taken care of, then you can devote some time to helping others with the overflow. That's the sexual signal. That's like everybody loves a man who has his shit together, and a guy who has his shit together has surplus, and the guys who have surplus are able to spread it to others. It's a good system. Oh, it's not worth the squeeze, is the juice. It's like, dude, do you not want a surplus? Do you not want to be more valuable? It's like, why wouldn't you? There's nothing but benefit to that. You want to buy the new sex doll? Well, being the better productor, being the better income gets you all the new sex dolls you want, MGTOW for 2069, sir. Yeah. So yeah, don't light yourself on fire to keep others warm. Anywho. Where's that classic one? Oh yeah, I like this one.
Name a bigger red flag than a white guy with a podcast. I'll wait.
I am not impressed. I will have you know, I'm like 80% white. The podcast is goddamn good, and I don't want you anyway. You got random Iroquois art and not art on your walls. You're not my type, sir. Or madam. I don't know, you're allowed to say any more? So that's it for the content. Actually, I think. No, wait, do I have one more? Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, there is one more. 6 months of irrational confidence. I almost forgot about this. So we're not going to make it Bantz yet. 6 months. This isn't even a failure, but it's a thing, and I thought it was important to put in. Only because it's so 100% common, and you see it with everybody. Before I start, though, Brett the Bachelor. Thank you, sir. $20 US super chat. My girl does manufactured drama, making up stories about fighting with Karen or whatever. She is pregnant and starts this in pregnancy. I'm undecided if she's crazy or I created this drama in the past. No, you didn't. It's always there. Mother-in-law is a pain in the ass. Her frenemies are a pain in the ass. The coworkers are... Girls just love the manufactured drama. They need the indignation. But she's pregnant. When girls are pregnant, their hormones are all over the place. So yeah, it amplifies this. So what you're seeing is almost like... That's where you understand that hormones matter. You're seeing an otherwise normal girl turn into a borderline personality disorder chick who's like extremely sensitive to alpha signals and extremely receptive to beta signals. And the only reason why is because of the hormones. That's it. I find it weird, a North American phenomenon where white girls use white as an insult to white men. I find it weird. Here's the thing, though. How do you respond to it? This is why it works. It's because everybody, oh, you're just a white male. And the guy's like, oh, well, actually, and starts apologizing for it. You just made it a real thing. It's like, and? What do you want from me? You're a white male. Probably. I hope so. I hope so, because otherwise my tan is gone. Otherwise, this is like alopecia or vitiligo or whatever they call it. It's like, dude, why would you apologize for yourself? It just seems like such a weird thing. But let them insult. Here's the thing. If they're insulting, hurt people. You know? But ain't your daddy white too, girl? Well, no, you're not getting into a pissing match with them. That's the thing. Why have you decided that this pissed off 120-pound vegan chick is like your arch nemesis, where you start wanting to have a verbal battle of wits? It's like, dude, it's a 4-year-old. A 4-year-old just called you a poopy head. What are you going to do? Drop kick her through the drywall? No. You're going to laugh and fucking pat her on the head, give her a noogie, and get out of here, you idiot. But yeah, so 6 months of irrational confidence. Here's the thing. You go through your process. Everything that I've talked about. You guys go through it. They do the things that apply to them. They don't do things. Maybe their wife steps up, becomes the great sex wife, and the good wife, and the thin wife, and all this shit. Maybe he leaves. He finds a younger and hotter and tighter chick. Maybe he finds multiple chicks. Maybe he plates his ex-wife, whatever. There is a 6-month period after a guy has truly become his mental point of origin, where he becomes an insufferable asshole. It's just a thing. Everybody does it. And if you have a friend who's been red-pilled, and if you have a friend who sorts his stuff out, and if you have a friend who unfucks his life, who goes from 0 to hero, beta to alpha, whatever you want to talk about it as, you meet that guy. He will talk like he's the fucking God's gift. He is better than you in every way. You're an idiot. If you guys have ever been you ever had a friend who was a former fat guy, and as soon as he loses weight, he turns around to all the other fat people. It's like, lose weight, you fat fucks. You're so lazy. I hate you. It's the same thing. So I guess as a model, it's like, just understand that this is it. Don't take it too personally. Give him some space to let him puff his chest. He actually did a pretty amazing thing with his life. So yeah, he's going to be a braggart for a bit about it. That's why whenever you see me with like John MLD on there, it's like, dude, he's just running his mouth. I'm like, yeah, he's kind of supposed to. He made his $2 million. He fucking got his business started off. He's sorting out the women thing. Top of the world. I can't believe he's such a jerk now. It's like, I can. I absolutely can. But, give it some time. Give it some time. People will become comfortable in their roles now as a more successful guy, and then it'll be more of a thing. I wouldn't belabor a guy for like, oh, how dare you? Like, no, dare you. Dare away. Go for it, man. You got this. I did it. He does it. Rolo probably did it back in the day. Rich does it, or Rich definitely did it. Troy probably did it. Everybody's done it. You guys have done it. Guaranteed you've done it. So yeah, just let a guy do it. He earned it. Fuck him. I had a girl calling me names at the arcade last weekend, saying how cocky I was at the game I was at. Played my own game with her. Ignored her name calling. She said I was hot by night's end. Well, yeah, she was shit testing you, dude. Cocky funny. You're so cocky at this game. It's because I'm the fucking best, you mongoloid. Yeah, it's a little irrational confidence. It's fine. But that's why I know there's going to be a mids watch coming out at some point, I think, where Jack 10 of Hearts, like a lot of the guys' stuff that I base my mids watch stuff is on his content. But it was a big fight we had over the concept of irrational confidence, and he hated it. He added very many don't eat paint warnings, the idea of like delusional guys with confidence are just screwing over their lives, and I'm like, I don't care about them. The guys who put in work, the guys who sort their shit out, the guys who haven't earned irrational confidence, absolutely. Because the alternative is you're going to have imposter syndrome, and nobody wants imposter syndrome. It doesn't help anybody. Not only does it suck for you because you start making choices as if you're still that scared little fat kid in the new fit person's body, but other people take it as a slap in the face. Like, oh my God, he's acting attractive. He's acting awesome. I like this guy. He's great. And then you start acting like the guy who doesn't deserve any of that. You're basically saying, you can't judge character at all. You're wrong about everything you thought. And this gift you gave me of all this gratitude and compliment, and your sexual best and whatever, like, fuck you. And that's how they take it. So you actually, by not being comfortable in your part by not going through that irrational confidence phase, you actually make things worse. So yeah, earn it, live it, love it. So there we go. So that's the one. Now we're going to switch over to banter. What do we got here? Let me see. I must have another one.
Single moms.
Oh,
A
yeah.
horrible position that's not my problem.
We're going to do a doubling up.
I love the way girls smell. I love how they always make sure, by and large, they shower, and they just have an amazing smell to them in general.
Hey! Somebody's minding his own business 3 blocks away. Gonna lose his fucking mind. Alright. So this one's gonna be some Bantz. I only had it scheduled for 90 minutes, but we'll go a little bit longer here. We'll go almost up to 2 hours if you can to. I have a whole bunch of stuff I have to do right after this, so by stalling and having some time with you guys and spending the time how you want to spend it, you're actually doing me a favor now. So the floor is yours, sir. I've had people angry at me for putting myself down in the past. I don't understand it at all, but I realized they saw it as a comment on themselves. Yeah, you're basically calling them an asshole and saying they're wrong. Dude, if somebody... Remember that saying? What's that Rolo's one? Where never... One of the iron rules, never talk a girl out of fucking you. Let her talk herself into it. It's like, yeah, it's exactly like that. It's exactly what I talked about, too, with, like, children with Dynamite. People are going to think about you a certain way. You just have to accept that how they think of you is a part of your identity. How they think you think of yourself is a part of your identity. How you think they think of you is a part of your identity. And you just got to accept it. And do what you can to curate the parts that you can. And see what happens. Yeah, someone's about to walk past here in 5 minutes. Time to boof at them. Exactly. All right, so we got here Mish and E. Jones having a ding. We're so brave as keyboard warriors. Dude. Here, Jones, like, there's a lot of regulars in here, and I kind of know a lot of the guys' stories that are here, so don't worry. For most of the people that are talking tough in here, it's earned. Like, in their lives, it's been pretty much earned. And that's the thing. If it hasn't been earned, people are usually pretty good at sussing out who are, like, the fake ones and not. So, for the most part, and we've worked very hard on this, is to make this chat autism-free. Everybody here is at a stage of red pilling or self-development where their brags are accurate to that level. There's not just bombastic bullshit. That's what sniffing too much 304 perfume. Can just say ho. I don't get this. Like, I hate it. Dorks and 304s. I'm like, dude, it's a language filter. Nothing's going to make or break your, oh, I used ho instead of 304. The algorithm will hate me. So are you worried about, like, utility and truth and effectiveness, or are you worried about not pissing off daddy daddy algorithm? Like, come on, dude. I am the spectrum. 20 years of rugby. Earned. Exactly. Jesus Christ, Doug. I have mirrors around my home, all over my home, because I want to be surrounded by greatness. Fucking guy. Yeah, I can see that, Dan. I used to work with a guy who played rugby. He was he was very short, but very thick. Like, he's a couple inches shorter than me, but he probably outweighed me by 50 pounds. He was like 32. His knees were shot. His shoulder was shot. He had like a bunch of surgeries already. He basically had to take like painkillers just to go out there. But he had great stories of like going to play Hong Kong. He'd go down there and play rugby. It was pretty cool. It's one of those things, man. That sport beats you up. Military beats you up too. It's funny, even in an office. If you're working in an office on a ship, just the constant battering of like you. It's basically go find like a manhole cover and just sit on it and then jump up and down for 10 years. And that's what being in the Navy will do for you. I'm actually kind of glad. That's why when you get out, the 10-year mark is like the make or break time, because that's when either it's now a career and you're doing your full 25, or you're going to get out with your health and do something new with your life. So yeah. 304 Fresh and Fit fan. I can't believe they're still fresh and... I mean, I get there's Fresh and Fit fans, but I can't believe they're here. My big goal has been, and I love it, this is one of my favorite comments you guys throw at me, is where it's like, I used to watch, like, and they'd name off, like, Ribby the Frog, and Taylor the Fiend, and Fresh and Fit, and Tate, and all these guys, and now I just watch you because I hate these guys, and I'm like, yes! The goal is there. Once you become red-pilled, you find out one of the greatest things you can do is stop listening to red-pilled content creators, because they're all full of shit. They're all full of shit. They just fill your head with drama and stupidity. Oh, for you lower back, yeah, I could see that being a bad one too. Played American football as well. Hadn't felt these injuries for some time, then started jiu-jitsu and these things came back. Interesting, you cited the Navy. I asked about joining. Yeah, I wouldn't join now. At least the Canadian one. So we have like cycles. When the Liberal Party of Canada gets in charge, they tend to defund it because in efforts of saving money, they're the only government organization that can't protest, like legally cannot protest. It's an arrestable offense. So whenever you want to make cuts to the budget, that's the easiest place to go. And because, like, oh, it feels really good to tell, like, the Toronto Liberal types that, oh, we're cutting back the military. We're not going to kill babies anymore. And everybody thinks that's great. Yeah, that's awesome. And then the problem is everybody who has something better they could do with their life leave. And the people that are left are horrible. It's called brain drain. And then the conservative parties will eventually get in. And they start funding the forces because, hey, we should probably meet our NATO treaty obligations because that is an international law. And it's a great way of building the Canadian manufacturing sector. And there's like a whole kinds of like, as an investment opportunity, the military actually works really well as a economic mobility tool in peacetime. And then people start putting more money into it and then more people join. And then you can go through a cycle. The first time people join, there's not enough equipment. There's too many people. Everybody's kind of bored. A lot of people leave. Then you finally get the equipment. Everybody has fun. There's a golden age. And I would say that 2003 to 2008 was definitely the golden age. Actually, maybe even almost up to 2010. And then the cycle repeats. So yeah, we're at the very bottom of that cycle where they aren't able to even come close to meeting REMAR, like their manning requirements. They can't meet their NATO obligations. They don't have the equipment. Nothing's being replaced. Nothing's being repaired. Everybody's going hard. Like the careerists are taking over. Right now, you could probably get a promotion as long as you're a lesbian and shitty at your job, but a guy could be an amazing person at his job and extremely talented and get passed over. And then you end up with brain drain. Qualified people leave, and the people that are left are the ones who have no other options. And those are the ones running things. And then you get that feedback loop of bad management trickles all the way down. So yeah, I wouldn't join now. Atomic Dynamite, I'm a Fresh and Fit fan, but I listen to you because you give How to Fix Your Life to Rollo's Why Your Life Is What It Is. Yeah. Like I said, I always talk about Rollo like he's the architect and we're the construction workers. It's great to know all this stuff about hypergamy, but if you can't use it, what good is it, right? Having said that too, it's also not me. Like Rollo talks about Rollo's work. I talk about like 150,000 guys' work, which is great because then I never have to worry about it. I never have to worry about, do I say something stupid? It's like, why don't you just stick to the stuff that's been replicated and the stuff that works? You can't go wrong just by sharing the notes that you've learned already. And I'm like, that works for me. Keeps you consistent. I never end up changing the pattern. And if I do, there's a reason for it. And I tell you guys the reason for it. That's why you can go back. A lot of guys did that. They go back to the old stuff that I've done like 3 years ago. Remarkably consistent. No, they'll never find a moment on here where I was like saying one thing and then saying the exact opposite. Because it's a body of work. It's not a personality. If I join now, I will tuck it in like Buffalo Bill and become captain. You put that lotion on your skin. Yeah. I found my way here from a short of Rich talking to a single mom. Really? Out of all the pathways, it's supposed to be what I've told. It's like the Rich Rollo Ryan pipeline. Like Rich will lead you. You'll find Rich's stuff. And then from there you find Rollo stuff. And then from Rollo stuff you find my stuff. The fact you went straight through and passed by Rollo, pretty impressive. You're definitely the other one. Serious question. What's your take on these young men getting a vasectomy? It's none of my business. Look, do what you want. It's all about trade-offs. So I get the idea. From a risk standpoint, I think they're being hyperbolic about it. I'll put it this way. I've seen baby trappings, but I've had friends that have lost their lives to like being baby trapped. It's never a case of like a one-night stand. It's always a chick that guys are dating. She's getting into her 30s. She's getting a little bit weird about it. She's like, oh, I love abortions. And then as soon as she gets pregnant, she's like, nope, keeping it. It's my last chance at being a mom. And they don't get tripped tracked because like they get sperm jacked or anything like that. They do that because the idiot thinks the pull-out method is great and then forgets about it. Oh, but she said she was on the pill and then she wasn't. So yeah, it's never... Like, I don't think you need a vasectomy. You just need to have your head on a swivel. Like, I don't think condoms are that bad. I'd rather have a knife in my dick. Like, no, you probably wouldn't. But they're getting it because they believe too much hype. They think everybody is Drake and every chick is trying to sperm jack them. It's like, dude, you're not Drake. You're not. You don't need it. Plus the fact that any doctor worth his salt probably doesn't give it to you anyway. Most guys, it's very difficult to get a vasectomy until I think they want you to be at least 35 or have 2 kids before doctors will ethically do it, because there's a 25% chance that it's non-reversible. 75% chance it is, but that's too high of a risk for doctors. So I worry, and it's not to the same extent that a lot of these kids are transitioning now, and then they find like 10 years later, like, oh, I want to transition back, and then their life is over. But there is going to be guys who got the vasectomy because MGTOW 42069 told them to, and then they turn 30 and 35 and they want a family, and the doc says, sorry man, nothing I can do. Maybe I can jab a needle in your balls and we can do some IVF thing, and that's it. And you're going to see some sad stories of them. Feminists are going to parade them around showing how the manosphere has wronged you, all because guys aren't willing to take a proper risk assessment. But, I mean, by the book, it does make you be in charge of the birth control. So I see it, but it's just such like an autistic, hyperbolic way to do it. Dude, there's an insect, there's a ant colony in my house. Let's burn the house down, that kind of shit. So I'm not going to tell a guy which way to do it, but just be aware. What are the risks? What's the probability of it? And what's the cost? For me, the vasectomy doesn't meet my cost-benefit analysis, but for MGTOW 42069, he's like, yeah, the snip. I do kind of doubt, though, that those are the guys that are Chad-like anyway, just slaying it left, right, and center. I do. Yeah, anytime you go under the knife and get something done, it changes you permanently. Well, I mean, that's the definition, right? That's the whole purpose of going under the knife. Oh, yeah, Dan. A lot of guys do that. Like, my buddy has that, too. Most of the time, you'll have 1 kid or 2 kids, and the guy gets snipped. He's like, done. And the new surgeries were actually pretty good, where it's just like a needle incision, and then, you don't even need the frozen peas anymore. So that's pretty good. So it's up to you. But if you don't want kids and you're willing to take the chance on your mind not changing as you get older, and you'd rather not take the risk at all, then yeah, it's probably a no-brainer. But like I said, it seems like a very permanent solution to a temporary problem to me. $5,000 in the U.S. Also, if married, it's a hassle. Odds is 25% not reversible from I can remember. Yeah, it's about the same what I've heard here. All right, Edward, what are you on here? I have a superpower. I see a girl in the street and focus hard enough to make her run her fingers through her hair. 3 seconds, she's running her fingers through her hair. Oh yeah, men at stare at goat's energy with this one. All right, fair enough. So yeah, I think there's better ways to do it. I do worry about that, though, because you get a lot of lost boys, like dudes in their 20s, and they need guidance. And the problem is, loud talking heads offer the shittiest guidance. You know what I mean? Like, they tell you what to do, and the guy will do that because he doesn't know any better. As opposed to giving him the tools. Here's the tools for you to make up your own decision. I would love it if it was that. If the vasectomy conversation was about, like, what we just talked about. Here's the risks involved with it. Here's the threat. Here's what kind of things are like. If you're famous like Drake, it might become an issue. Yeah. If you're just some guy working at Best Buy, nobody gives a shit. If you're just a program in an office, nobody's going to give a shit. If you sleep with girls that are like 30 and asking where is this going after the first date, probably a higher likelihood that her forgetting to take the birth control pill that day, that kind of stuff. Yeah, do your own research and have your own threat and risk assessment. I'll probably do a whole episode at one point. I think I've kind of peppered in with other ones about how to do a proper TRA. It's a business tool, but it really works great for your personal life too, as long as you take away the spreadsheets and just kind of like do it as a mental tally. Oh yes, Tom, that's right. Thank you for reminding me. Where is she? I talk about it on the newsletter. I don't talk about it here. But you know what? You guys are great. We're going to talk about it here. There's a link. Can I pin this? Can you pin more than one comment? Oh, you guys replace it. You know what? We'll leave this here. Store.ryanstone.com. The merch is out. So I had on the second channel, Digital Ryan. Sign up for it, by the way. Here, I'll throw you a link to it. Digital Ryan. What is that one? Like, where's the red pill go from here? Everything about sexual dynamics has been discussed, and it's all known. What's next? Well, we entertain each other with, like, with a red pill lens. So I'm like, it's a gaming channel. It's perfect. Playing Minecraft. We have a server. It's great. We actually had a contest, a Manosphere build on the server. And I'm pretty sure Dave has won, but we're going to sort that out on Monday. He's got a big picture of John MLD on the server. It's absolutely hilarious. So yeah, the contest over the month, the winner was going to get a free piece of merch. So first run of these ones, Dave just has to pick, or whoever wins. I guess I don't want to say it's Dave because we haven't done the decision yet. We'll get their free pair of merch. The new Red Morning stuff is coming out. We got hoodie, we got shirt, and we got tank top if that's your thing. So it's pretty psyched. I'm hoping for once I get it before everybody else does. So I'm praying that mine comes before yours does for those of you who ordered it. And if you've subscribed to the newsletter, or if you're a member in the channel, the Digital Ryan channel, you're going to see a discount code in there for you, so you can get that. Like, for the guys who subscribed to the Digital Ryan channel as a member, you're basically getting it at cost. I'm making zero, like a penny of profit off of you. For those guys on the newsletter, it's not quite as good, but it's still good. Like, any little thing I can do to support, it's like, yeah, here's a little discount. Thank you very much for being a subscriber. You guys here, you don't get any of that. There's the link. It's there if you want it. Also, don't forget the Don't Eat Paint mug. Good for men, bad for education, in white and black. As well as the Paint Eater 1000. Rob has that one. It's great. It's about the perfect size to stick an entire Bud Light into, and it keeps the cold things cold and the warm things warm. Clary depresses me. See, I find Clary, I like his rantings. They're kind of like nostalgic for me. Clary's too happy about wheat pennies. What's a wheat penny, by the way? I don't know what a wheat penny is, and I'm kind of curious, but I didn't want to ask. If you ever replace map with topology, I'm out. Oh, you mean the map behind me? Yeah, I've eventually got to get around to where I'm putting a pin in area of the country I've been to. It's on my to-do list, and I haven't done it. I want to have, like, the Indiana Jones red lines going through it. But, yeah, I just keep, like, forgetting. Holds more than a standard beer, too. Oh, that's good to know. Ryan's promo code, Heavyweight Life Coach. I like that. I like that. Yeah. Women don't want you. You hear that enough, and it does something. Yeah. I mean, women may want you, may don't. Most women don't want you. That's true. Just got to meet a lot of women, though. Eventually, some women will want you. As long as you got your shit together. But that's the trick, right? How do you get the girls? I think that's about it. At this point, I'm just kind of mumbling to myself, but Penny from the 1950s and before, wheat on the back. So we're gonna wind this thing down. Let me just do all the simple housekeeping before I forget. There's been a few times I did these episodes. I set up all the timestamps. They're set up to look all nice. And then I close the thing and I end the podcast and I realize I didn't save any of it and I lose like an hour of work and I have to watch the whole show again to redo the timestamps, and it's just a pain in the ass. Oh, okay. Old pennies had a picture of wheat on it, referred to as wheat pennies. Dude, do you guys still have pennies? Canada got rid of ours like 6 years ago. Interesting. Yeah, women don't want men, but they need them. Other way around, Sonny. Women don't need men anymore, but they want them. That's the luxury branding. That's the new... Everybody's like, what makes a man in 2022? Well, it's luxury branding. The days of men being the plow horse are over. The days of the Louis Vuitton purse of masculinity are in. I'm sure you've heard it before. I've told my soybean versus edamame story. It's kind of where we're going with that. Anyways, thanks for subscribing to the channel. Like, share. Actually, yeah, some likes would be nice. I feel bad because the Digital Ryan channel, for the longest time, for the entire run of the channel, it always had more likes than viewers. And until Wednesday, we finally lost that trend. This one, we've never gotten there. A lot of you guys are just too stingy with the likes, but that's fine. It's whatever. But thank you very much for your time. And I will catch you guys on the next one. Cheers.